Dead Sleep Triple Terror Feature, Volume 3. Story 1. I took a job as a night shift cab driver. My passengers aren't humans. My name is Felix. I'm a 22-year-old man who earns a living off of small-time jobs. Made some bad decisions during my teenage years and dropped out of high school at the age of 18. I was young, wild, and reckless. I didn't care about anyone's opinion and was privileged enough to be born in a decent household. My father earned a lot of money, so I never got a job. But I came to my senses after my dad passed away in an accident. I was 18 at the time. The burden to provide for my family now fell on my shoulders. I had to put food on the table for myself, my mother, and my 7-year-old sister from then on. I did a lot of work just to get sustainable income. I mowed lawns, babysat for my neighbors, walked other people's dogs just to get my hands on a few dollars. At 20 years of age, I was not only doing the work I did when I was 18, but also got a nighttime job as a security guard at a mall. I was working really hard every day just to survive, and was sleep deprived most of the time. And so after working like this for 2 years, I became irritable and short-tempered. I got fired from my job for, quote, misbehaving with the owner's son. Until that point of time, I did not know saving a girl from 2 drunk men touching and catcalling her was misbehaving, but okay. I started looking for a nighttime job on Craigslist and came across an ad. It was a job offer by a cab company. It read, "Position open as night shift cab driver at R Cabs. Work 6 hours a day, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., 6 days a week. Earn $150 per day. For further queries, call, phone number emitted." I was excited on seeing such a great offer. I calculated the monthly income, which came out to total around $3,600 a month. With this amount of money, I could stop mowing lawns and taking care of babies, all while providing for my family, and even buying them gifts every once in a while. Not to mention the fact that because I would not be working day shifts if I got this job, I could catch up on my sleep. I called up the number given on the ad. A smooth, high-pitched male voice answered the call. He introduced himself as Dave. I inquired about the job, and after a quick interview over the phone, I got hired. The only thing that struck me as odd were some of the questions he asked. Majority of them were pretty normal. Are you nocturnal or have difficulty staying up at night? What's your age? But he also asked some rather odd questions. Are you an imaginative man? Can you follow a strict list of rules to the T if I ask to? Can you keep calm under hazardous conditions and drive safe, even when you're speeding? The questions raised some red flags, but I was too blinded by the high amount of pay they were offering. He told me I could start as soon as today. I looked at the clock hanging from the wall. It was 10:12 p.m. I told him I could be there at 12 a.m. sharp. My mother was ecstatic when I gave her the news. She was more than happy with the fact that I would spend more time with her and catch up on some sleep that she was with the pay. I thought of buying her something nice as soon as I completed my first month of work and collected $3,600. I reached the decided location at 11:58 p.m. It was just a kilometer away from my house, so I didn't bother bringing my car. As Dave said, the company will be providing the cabs. At 12 a.m. sharp, a Prius pulled up and parked in front of me. A man wearing all black got out of the car and walked over to me. He greeted me with a warm smile and gave me the keys to the car I was supposed to be driving. It was the Prius. He congratulated me on getting the job. He set up the R-Cab app on my mobile phone and just before leaving, handed me a piece of paper and $150. Then said, "Read this paper as soon as you can. It is a list of rules for you to follow." With this, he turned around and started walking into the night. After I saw him turn the corner, I got into the car, closed the doors, and smoothed out the folded piece of paper and started reading. It read, "Hey Felix, this is Dave. Now, there is something you should understand. Only you can read the text on this piece of paper, so there is no point in going to the cops or suing us, because frankly, no one would believe you. Keep that in mind. And also, majority of the people you will pick up and drop off will not be human." Rule 1. If you get a pickup request from a number with only 6 digits, call them up and politely decline. Do not go within 100 meters of their location for the next 2 hours. Always apologize and make up a reason why you cannot come. The creature doesn't take rude remarks well. Rule 2. Always seat the passengers in the back seat and check their mirror reflection. If they have a reflection, drop them off to their location and do not ask for money. They will pay as they wish. If they do not have a reflection, take the pistol in the glove compartment and shoot yourself. It will be a marginally painless death compared to what they will do to you. Rule 3. Do not eat anything non-vegetarian in the cab. The smell of meat might capture some creature's unwanted attention, and believe me when I say you do not want their attention. Rule 4. If you get a call from a person you know, do not answer the call. It is not them. If you do respond to them, you will hear a deafening screech which has been responsible for bursting eardrums in the past. Rule 5. Do not try to abandon the car on the road, or you will die the most brutal way your brain can imagine. Yes, they can read minds. Rule 6. You cannot give up this job without working here for at least 2 weeks, for the reasons I cannot specify because of the company's policy. Rule 7. If you get dark figures running along the car, speed up and try to ignore them. Do not stop or slow down. If you maintain a speed of 80 plus kilometers per hour, they will not be able to catch you. The other option is driving on a busy road. They will perform mock charges and give you illusions that they are gaining on you. But if you're driving fast, just keep driving fast for 3 to 4 more minutes and they will be gone. Rule 8. If you smell rotten meat in the back seat, do not look behind you. Instead, take the pistol from the glove compartment, close your eyes, turn around, and fire on all the 3 back seats. It will be gone. It can't hurt you if you cannot see it. Rule 9. If your engine dies down, do not step out of the car. It is bait to get you out. Wait for 20 to 30 minutes and the car should start right back up. Rule 10. Do not dial anyone. They will not pick up. Calling for help also annoys the creatures after you. Your most beloved person might die of, quote, natural causes just the next day if you try to reach out to people who will not be picking up because their phones won't even be ringing. Rule 11. At 6 a.m., bring this car to your house, leave the key in, and walk back inside your home. The car will disappear in an hour or so, and will be right back there the next night at 12 a.m. I chuckled at the stupid list. Scary prank on the new guy, huh? I whispered under my breath and started driving. After just 5 to 10 minutes, my mom started calling. Just before I could pick it up, I froze with fear. I could smell the scent of rotting meat. I slowly opened the glove compartment, took out the pistol, closed my eyes, then turned around and shot 6 rounds, 2 bullets at each seat. I heard a loud shriek. After about 5 seconds, I opened my eyes to see that the seats were empty, but one of the windows was open, and there was some blood on the left seat. I cleaned it up with a towel kept in the glove compartment and started driving. I got a request. It was a regular number. I started driving towards its location. The passenger was a girl. She got in the back seat and I started driving. I slowly tilted the rear view mirror hoping and praying that she had a reflection. Luckily, she did. We eventually reached her destination, which was on a farm on the outskirts of town. She tipped me $10, got out of the car, and climbed up on one of the farm's walls with ease. I sat there in the car, shocked. Eventually, the bleating of goats and the sound of flesh tearing broke me out of my trance, and I started driving away. After half an hour of contemplating what I just witnessed, I received another request. I checked its location. It was as if my heart stopped beating when I saw the passenger's number. It only had 6 digits and was just 87 meters away from me. I started my car back up and started driving. It was gaining on me. I started panicking. It was only 50 meters away from me. I could now feel the ground shaking footsteps and low-pitched growls. I sped up to nearly 100 kilometers per hour and noticed that I was successfully moving away from it. I was 92 meters away from it when I noticed them, the dark figures. They were running alongside my car. I almost swerved off the road and into a wall 2 times, but I kept my cool and tried best to ignore them. The figures, which looked like shadows of a human just a minute ago, distorted into demonic shadows within seconds. Walls around me started to bleed. I somehow maintained a consistent speed of nearly 100 kilometers without crashing, and after a short, intense change, everything was suddenly back to normal. I was beginning to think I'd lost my mind. I wanted to call my mother, but with everything that had happened up until that point of time, I did not want to break the rule. Then I remembered I had to make a call to the passenger and apologize, and that's what I did. It sounded like a charismatic young person over the phone, but I knew better. After this whole ordeal was over, it was just 4 a.m. The next 2 hours passed by pretty normally. I picked up 3 more passengers, but they seemed normal. I did exactly what Dave told me to do, parked the car outside my house and went to sleep. I woke up at 9 a.m. and gave my mother the $150. She was really happy. I knew if I told her what had actually gone down, she would not believe me. So I'm sitting here, typing this at 10 p.m. I do not want to go back to that car again, but I have no option, and no one will believe me. If I die, here lies my story. If I make it through this night, I will be grateful to God. I just wanted to know, has anybody else gotten this job offer from our cabs? Story 2. I'm on vacation and someone won't stop knocking on my door. COVID restrictions finally eased up and the government allowed overseas flights from my country to Hawaii, and I was on a plane out of here in a heartbeat. I'll admit, working a 9-to-5 office job is more enjoyable when I'm at home in my boxers, making my way through my 3rd bag of popcorn, but damn if a man doesn't need to get out of his house sometimes. A coworker of mine named Paul, that I'm good friends with, had planned to come with me, but he got the short end of the stick and became the project manager for a new project. Which, don't get me wrong, is amazing, but he's not the one sipping JB on the beach. I'm back at my hotel after jet skiing, paragliding, and snorkeling all for the first time in my life, and I wish time could just stop forever. A cool, playful breeze slips about the silk curtains beside me through a window as I relish the softness of a double king-sized mattress and a bathrobe when Paul texts me, "How's the trip?" It's amazing. Gosh knows how much I needed a vacation after 1.5 years of flight restrictions. You and me both, except I'm not on vacation. Management is reintegrating in-office work again, and I'm doing overtime past midnight for the 5th day in a row. Blast me out of a rocket, slingshot me, do whatever. Just get me the hell out of here. It's that bad, huh? Yup. I feel bad for Paul. 5 days of overtime in a row is ridiculous. But when I look at the door of my room in front of my bed and think of paradise only a few minutes walk from here, I can't help but thank the stars that I wasn't him. Texting continues. Tell you what, funnily enough, the thing that feels most vacation-y about this trip is the different time zone, besides the midday cocktails and the wakeboarding. Please rub it in my face more, would ya? What time is it for you anyway? I'm behind you about an hour and a half. It's 11:34 p.m. right now. You could tell me what'll happen in the future. Tell me what's going on tomorrow. I don't think that's how time zones work. Well, it was worth a shot anyway. Shoot, boss is back from his break. I'll talk to you later. I miss not having to be in the same room as my boss. Send photos. Any piece of escapism will do at this point. Will do. Good luck out there. The draft coming from the window is getting chilly, but this bed is just so comfortable that I can't be bothered to get up and close the window. I've got goosebumps along my arms. Oh, by the way, my phone dings loudly as Paul sends me another text. Do not, under any circumstances, answer your door when it starts knocking at 12:04 a.m. Lock your door and close your bedside window. I've got goosebumps running along the back of my neck, and this time it's not from the cold breeze. What kind of cryptic nonsense is he on about? Paul must be trying to scare me because he's jealous he couldn't come on vacation. I know how time zones work, for goodness sake. I'm so scared. Is the serial killer going to visit me at midnight? I'm sarcastic in my message, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't creep me out a little. Paul doesn't respond. Jackass. Whatever. I figure I should just browse Reddit for a while before I sleep. Foreign country or not, Reddit will always be the way I wind down before bed. I'm curled up in my sheets as I'm scrolling through rare puppers to ease my nerves as a gust of cold air makes my whole body shudder, even under the blankets. I look up at the still open window next to my bed, about to get up to close it when my whole body freezes, but not because of the wind. How does Paul know that I have a bedside window open? This has got to be simple coincidence. Most expensive hotels would have a bedside window. Paul could have easily assumed that I had one by simple deduction based on the popular hotels in Hawaii. Right? I look back at my phone screen. 12:01 a.m. He was just pulling a crappy prank on me by trying to scare me, so I know I shouldn't be scared, but that damn message. Something was just off about it. He's never joked like that before. 12:02 a.m. You know what? It's getting damn freezing and I should probably close that window so I don't catch a cold. Yeah, that's why I'm closing it. As I get up to grab the window handle, I hear tires on gravel nearby. It's pitch black outside. Must just be a late check-in. 12:03 a.m. I might as well lock the door too. I mean, everyone locks their bedroom doors in hotels, right? Shoot, that text is getting to me. I reach toward the door and fumble as I try to turn the lock on the handle. Why am I sweating so much? Why am I shaking? The door clicks as it locks. 12:04 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. I fall flat on my ass and scurry as fast as I can from the door to the corner of the room under the window. Is there actually going to be a serial killer coming to my room? How the hell did they get past the room door? I grab the sheets from my bed and cower from underneath, peeking my head over to watch the door. It is silent. All I can hear is my heart beating behind my eyes and my trembling breaths. They must have heard me fall. They know I'm in here. While I'm trying to look for a weapon to fend off my intruder, I hear a small, almost squeaky voice from the other side of the door, like a child. Housekeeping? It's just the hotel management. I breathe half a sigh of relief until I check my phone again. 12:05 a.m. What the hell is hotel management doing inside of my room to do housekeeping in the middle of the night? My pulse quickens and I start to lose my breath again. I can see the door handle moving around. They're trying to open the door. If I locked it a second later, they would be inside the room. My mind, racing for a way to get the intruder away, decides to yell, "No housekeeping!" The doorknob stops rattling. There's no way this is going to work. He's going to break the door down. After a few minutes of silence, I can hear light footsteps getting quieter on the other side of the door. Another door creaks open, then shuts closed. Did they leave? No matter what happened, I'm not moving an inch from this spot, partially by choice and partially because I'm so pissed scared my legs have no strength in them. I've been staring at that doorknob for the last 10 minutes and nothing has happened. Maybe that was it. Maybe some freak on management likes to do housekeeping at weird hours, like midnight, while the guest is still in the room. As my mind reels from the shock of the moment, I hear the room door open again. Oh no, there are more footsteps this time, and they're heavy, like bears in boots. 2 pairs of feet? 3? More? I'm going to be kidnapped by a trafficking ring and I'm powerless to do anything about it. Why did I think saying no housekeeping would do anything to help me? Knock, knock, knock. Open the door. A thin, high voice is speaking to me again from the other side of the door. I can't breathe. Please. It sounded like a whole squadron of Marines just marched into my room. How can it sound like a little girl? It's cold outside. I've got enough common sense and watched enough horror movies to know that I would be making the worst mistake of my life if I was to open that door. Please just open the door. How did they rope up a little girl into this? Some scumbags must have kidnapped her to do things like this. Bang, bang, bang. The knocks turn from taps to smashing on the door. The door curves and the hinges squeak with every forceful bang. How the hell can a little girl hit with that force? This is the police. Come out with your hands up. You're under arrest. My breath leaves my lungs and I feel so dizzy I could puke. There's no way that the police are behind that door. 1 second ago there was a little girl and now there's an adult male police officer. Why can I hear crawling in the walls and past the door? You have 5 seconds to comply. The man's voice was getting lower and growlier like he wasn't even human. I close my eyes shut and cup my hands over my ears. The crawling has gotten louder and it sounds like 1,000 centipedes are in between the walls. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Open the door. The voice is reduced to a grumbling scream and the banging is shaking the room. What the hell is behind that door? Why is the crawling so loud? Bang, bang, bang. Open the door. The banging was so hard I lost balance. How was the door not coming down? Open the door, I can see you. See me? How the hell can it see me? My eyes frantically scan the door to see any cracks or holes. There are none. I look up towards the window and 2 white bloodshot beads are staring directly down at me. I see you. I see you. Open the door. My heart is beating in my throat and my breath is getting caught up by the sweat dripping from my face. My phone dings loudly. It's from Paul. I told you not to answer the door. The thing is still staring at me through the window. It hasn't blinked a single time. I don't even think it has eyelids. The door seems like it could come crashing down any second, and the crawling is everywhere. It's in my ears and my ribs and my legs. I just wanted a vacation. What the hell am I supposed to do now? Story 3. There is an uninvited guest in my house. To be blunt, I have reason to believe someone is living in my house. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm being stalked, nor am I rushing to post on Reddit while hiding from an intruder. When small daily use items started going missing, I blamed it on my own bad memory. When I would wake up at night to piss and find all the lights in the house on, I shrugged it off. Too much to drink before bed, I would think. It had become a recurring joke in my head after the first week. The vengeful ghost lurking in my house and stealing my DVDs. Into the second week, the signs started getting a little more extreme. I noticed deep, spiderwebbing cracks in the glass frames of photos of my late wife. Do picture frames usually crack themselves without falling from the wall? I started noticing that more important, more sentimental things would be stolen, defaced, or placed in a different room. Wedding photos, old love letters, her old necklace that I couldn't bear to part with, all either missing or strewn across one of the empty rooms. Things escalated when my gun went missing 3 nights ago. At least, I didn't know it was gone until 3 nights ago. I heard some footsteps and banging around outside my bedroom. Thundering steps, like a torrent of large beasts pouring down the hallway. I scrambled to my closet for a weapon and had no luck, due to aforementioned missing gun. I armed myself with my pocket knife, and as I flung open the door, I heard a loud crashing, like 2 cars made of glass colliding. I leapt out into the hall, knife pointed outward as if it were a bayonet and teeth bared, but I only found the source of the racket. Every picture on the walls of the hallway had fallen to the carpeted beige floor and seemingly exploded out of pure shock. I stalked around each corner of the house in thin silence until the sun bled itself through the shutters of each window. 2 nights ago, I was awakened by a knocking on my bedroom door. I stumbled out of bed to the end of my room and hazily opened it to find no one. A small and delicate trail led off into the tempting darkness of the hallway. It shone and smeared on my fingers like blood, but it was much darker and thicker. It was more like cooling candle wax to the touch. In my fascination, I'd forgotten the potential intruder in my home and was wrested back to this thought by the heat of breath on the back of my neck. Each of the hairs there rose to stand on end. The heat of the breathing created a wetness on my neck, and the sound of it slowly sunk into my ears. I whipped around as if to catch the person off guard, swinging with my right arm and quickly falling on my ass like an idiot. Whoever it was behind me, they were gone. I quickly fled to my car and slept behind the closest gas station. Last night was inexplicable in nature. Things rose to a head in ways I'm still struggling to process. I woke to a voice. My wife's voice. I know it couldn't possibly be her in the flesh, but in my half-awake and naive state, I didn't question it. I heard her just beyond the bedroom door, soft and voiceful of kindness. I opened the door. Nothing. I'm a fool. A harsh, crackling whisper like a death rattle of unseen origin flew down the hallway from me and settled in the quiet. The hallway shook with magnetic force, almost knocking me to one knee. The decorations scattered about the walls of the hallway rattled and fell, shattering and making sounds so piercing I'd have thought everything in the house had broken. Foolish, I walked off into the dark. Broken glass stung at my feet. I could hear faint whispers spiraling around me, but couldn't make out a word. Every minute instinct and every cell in my body screamed at me to run, to flee the house and never return, but an estrangement forced me further onward. On the living room wall, there was arrangements of handprints smeared and tossed about, most dripping far down the wall toward the floor. They appeared to be bloody, though I couldn't be certain in the dark. A few feet away from the hand paintings was a wet, aphotic stain akin to a puddle of vomit with a consistency like viscera. It was a disgusting sight, and the very grime of the substance itself seemed to be crawling away from the mass in efforts to corrupt the rest of the room. It was then I heard a skittering behind me, the sound of bare feet dragging along carpet. I turned and was frozen, caught by the sight of the silhouette lurking and unable to act. My heart caught in my throat as I watched it slowly shamble toward the window in my bedroom and reach toward the curtains. It tore open the curtain, filling the room with the obscuring deep blue glow of the night and exposing itself to me. It couldn't have been, and yet it was. It was my wife, her face sunken and features gaunt, a mess of greenish-black vomit stringing from her mouth that stained her chin and much of her exposed chest. Her eyes were dim, as the dead's eyes often are. They shone in the moonlight like two moons reflecting off the blue neon of her pallid flesh. She stepped from the window and faced me, though she did not look at me. She stared distantly and aimlessly as if she were blind and simply aware of my direction. She lifted one stiff arm, slow and jerking in motion. She pointed directly at me, and another mass of gory black vomit spilled out of her mouth limply. The door slammed shut with a thunderous impact so violent it had rocked me from my trance. I barreled down the dark hallway and threw myself with all of my strength into and through the door. Splinters of wood stabbed at me and littered the floor about me, and pain bit into my shoulder and body. Nothing. There was no one in the room, and yet the curtain of my bedroom window remained open. The acidic puddle of her vomit still gurgled and stained on the floor of the room. I had to prove it to myself. There was no logical way that my wife's reanimated corpse had appeared in my house, but before I fled for the night, I had to make sure. I had to know. A manic tremoring and anxiety hit me like a brick in the chest. I grabbed my keys and ran to the backyard, eyes darting between tree, bush, and shadow in a paranoid indulgence. I unlocked the shed and swung the door open. She was just as I left her. Her body was propped up against the wall, sitting atop an old box of clothes, her legs together and severed from the knees down. Her arms were positioned as if her hands were clasped and sitting in her lap, except that her hands, too, were severed. She looked back at me with her lifeless, dim eyes and her matted hair sticky with blood. The blood around her mouth and chin had thickened into a dark, blackening syrup that clung to her face. Nothing had changed. I stared in silence at her for a while before slamming shut and locking the shed door. I quickly rushed to gather my things and fled to avoid being confronted by the guest again. I could hardly sleep. I stared at a hotel ceiling for hours, restless. What precious little sleep I was given did little to relieve my fatigue. I didn't notice the handprint left in blood on the door of my car until I was departing to pick up my wife. I thought I was safe being somewhere far from the house, but she found me. No, it found me and wanted me to know that it found me. I didn't have a moment to lose. I drove to the house and went straight for the backyard shed. Would you believe it if I told you the shed was empty? Well, not exactly empty. Where the body once sat, I found my pistol. It had faint fingerprint smudges and blood around the barrel. I snatched the pistol from its rest in a panic and ran to the car, then back to the hotel. I spent the last few hours questioning my sanity, questioning what I'd seen, how this could even happen, but about 10 minutes ago, I heard a knock on the hotel door. I looked through the peephole and saw an empty parking lot. A few minutes later, another knock. I looked once more and could have not dreamed of seeing what lied on the outside. I saw the blue-tinged, degenerating and nude corpse of my wife standing at the end of the parking lot. It was facing away at first, staring aimlessly, but soon turned and revealed black vomit stained much of the front of her body. It felt like we had locked eyes, though there was no way she could have seen me. I ducked from the door immediately and hid. The knocking had become more and more frequent and heavy, almost primal. The black substance was rolling in pools from underneath the bottom of the hotel door. Just as I thought my death was certain, it all stopped, though the stains remained. Silence. I looked at my car and it's covered in those black handprints. Should I risk making a run for it?